If you're a targeted individual, you may have noticed that the perpetrators, they continually take shots at you. At one time, they would harass me upon arrival to the grocery store, in the parking lot, while in line, when I was exiting. And I utilized all my skills in electronics to build my own equipment to pinpoint their locations. And I also utilized Eagle Security Unlimited prior to this. At one time, it was really good. But then the enemy started utilizing devices which spoofed their location to like 40 places. So I would need like 40 people to help me find the right spot. But they made some mistakes and they were spoofing their locations to areas where there was swampland. So I found one of these locations where they were at, and they were operating from a VFW. I even found the person, seen the device in a vehicle that was deployed, and they're able to track you in real time. Your pinpoint location is shared. And these perpetrators were sharing my location with local veterans to confront me when I was in downtown Clermont, Florida, facing the lake. And they were directed to park their car in a direction where I felt like I was being observed. And one of these veterans I confronted, I was very polite. I was like, "Sir, why are you always harassing me?" And he told me, "Look, we're directed to do this. It's just how we make extra money." So you have people that do this for extra money on behalf of a federal agency or contractor. It's not about public safety. It's not a criminal investigation. And to bypass our laws, they have laws on the books which require law enforcement to keep these activities secret, knowing it's not an investigation, knowing that you're not committing any crimes. And in some cases, you may even document sheriffs, deputies, even deputies from surrounding areas taking shots at you every blue moon, maybe contacting a gas station clerk saying you're a pedophile when you walk in, whistle in his face. See, the enemy wants you to attack one of these people or murder somebody because they want to put you away, not because you're a criminal or terrorist, but because now, after living years in a community, you're able to see where this is coming from. You've documented your county attorney, your police refusing to help. You've been mobbed by veterans, veteran-owned businesses. And this makes you a threat to the community, not because you're a threat to anybody, but because of the potential for a problem. Because if police can't stop this, if the fusion centers don't intervene and they're just simply watching you but not helping, what this does is it shows that the system is corrupt. It also shows that the same activities that we know are linked to mass shootings, violence, are being promoted within the system, and that is the case. Being a person that's against violence, I make little channels and share a little bit about what I know. I've been in this since 1996, after being accused of a murder of a U.S. Air Force pilot named Mike Brady. When I was 19 years old, I was hanging around the wrong people, and I met them at a Latin night, and I had no idea that these people were tied to some type of mafia family. To make a long story short, I cut them off after police told me that these guys were dealing with drugs, and never contacted them since. Took a polygraph test. Everybody I knew was being interrogated. So, to make a long story short, this was put on me. And I have found out from multiple people that this cold case investigation has been ongoing, and that as long as I live in America, I'll always be a target because nobody's been arrested and I was a suspect. So I've never tried fleeing the United States. I've never tried hiding. I don't use VPNs unless I'm going to access my bank account. I don't want to get hacked. I don't drive around with guns or weapons unless I'm going to go in nature or take a walk, because I've received death threats and I've been harassed by veterans for years. So I have to protect myself, and I respect people. I do not disrespect these veterans and harass them, but I've documented harassment from veterans. So in Texas, I started to experience harassment just like here from Jewish people listed as contractors, ex-law enforcement, active duty military, ex-military, hordes of minority-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses and spouses of vets. Sometimes they would come as a couple and they'd bring their family and just come up to me and harass me. Sometimes I would find these people going to facilities tied to law enforcement, and law enforcement would just be watching these operations but not really getting involved in it. You can tell they didn't even want to be there. But since the activity was high risk and they were under a mutual aid agreement or MOU, they would just be on standby. So what the perpetrators would do was they would bring elderly veterans to harass me in stores. They would call the cops prior to show up, and the people doing this have a classified background. And what's really interesting is that in every single state, the CIA has been mentioned. I live in Clermont, Florida, but I go to the Crooked Can Brewery once every blue moon just to have one beer and maybe some sushi with family. And I'd be harassed by people in the same exact way I was harassed in schools, supermarkets, and where I walked in Texas. So when I did research, I found out the only two federal agencies hiring there in Winter Garden, Florida are the CIA and NSA, and then years later the FBI. So I contacted these agencies in every single state, and they're recorded on video slamming phones. So it appears that the source of terrorism within the United States lies with national security threats which hide behind our flag. Now, when you look at these activities, it's similar to what we see the Palestinians facing. They've asked us for help, but we don't help them. And then you have people here which are given millions of dollars, and they do not want to bring justice to these people which have been impacted. They want the people that are behind this to get off the hook. That's to show you the level of evil and racism within the United States. So these activities impact people that are white, black, Chinese, people of all ethnic backgrounds, and it occurs across the United States. The good thing about this situation is that by asking for help and recording, I can go through my files and show FBI, CIA, NSA, DHS, Citizens Corps, sheriff's departments, police departments in every state not helping. Also, I'm able to show members of an entire VFW group leaving the facility, coming to where I'm at, harassing me, and then going right back. Within 2 minutes, 20 cars, and each car comes in and honks the horn and drives out. I don't put everything out there because I have to live here, but I have one file. It's 2,817 videos, and it shows me deliberately going to the same places to walk in the morning, afternoon, and before sunset. And it shows these people showing up at places where there's nobody at. They come by, honk the horn, circle around my car, and they all have disabled veteran tags. And 13% of these cars were tracked down to veteran-owned businesses. A few other ones have profiles where their profiles say they've worked for the CIA. Other ones, other federal agencies. So what's the coincidence of this, fellow TIs? I encourage targeted individuals to remain nonviolent in these types of situations where Congress, our national security apparatus, are no longer able to uphold the Constitution. I encourage you guys to save up money, seek political asylum, avoid all European nations, look at countries like Russia, maybe rural China, seek political asylum. In the future, I believe there'll be more countries we can go to where we can experience life, liberty, and justice.
You may have noticed that in small towns, that when you go to a lakeside parking lot to enjoy the ambiance, that people typically give each other space, unless there's an event. So, I've been coming out here now for 8 years, and I've collected a massive collection of videos showing ex-military families, spouses of veterans, weird issues with people that are ex-U.S. Air Force, ex-Navy, ex-Marines, ex-Army, coming my way And throughout the years, they would park next to me and then honk the horn as they arrived. And that's not a crime. But I started feeling disrespected because they would park so close that I couldn't even open up my car door. Sometimes I was even uptight about reversing the car because I was scared that my rearview mirror could bump into theirs. When you're a targeted individual, what the enemy does is they violate your boundaries. They don't like it when people do constitutional audits at their facilities. I don't do stuff like that. Because the only thing that does is it angers people. But when they do it, and when they outsource, they don't feel no shame because it doesn't come back to them.